Cool. I'm here once again with Kyle Matovic. What's up, Bubba?
No, nothing, man. I'm wearing my Margaritaville shirt to celebrate being a aspiring Florida man that escaped the hurricane recently. But other than that, man, just kind of the usual. And I texted you this, but being a bald guy down in Florida, if you haven't been a bald guy down in Florida, just be careful. You might want to wear a hat the first day. Don't think that it's going to be fine because it wasn't fine.
I'm gonna slather all that suntan lotion on.
Yeah, so Sarah kept telling me to do that, but I'm like, no, I'll be all right. I
It'll be all
tan
right.
pretty good. No, it wasn't all right. She had me on that one. I won't tell her she did, but she did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's always the spots that don't get like sun regularly, like
Mm.
your forearms and your shins, and it's all good. But then you're like, oh man, I'm hot. I'm tired of like wearing this shirt that's soaked in sweat. I'm just gonna take it off, and the next thing you know, your back is just one solid blister. You know, you're like, damn it.
Yeah, you know what? So I was doing the most Kyle of Kyle things that you could possibly do over the summer, and I was riding a kayak down the river drinking Monster seltzers on a hot summer day, and I actually got sunburn on the top of my feet and my shins. That was a pretty shitty experience. And then when I was in Florida back in July, I remember we were walking around SeaWorld. It had to be like over 100 degrees and insanely humid. My fucking shins were sweating, which is probably like a regular day for you in Texas some days. But like for me, being from Pennsylvania, I don't get ankle sweat. I get like
Yeah.
back sweat, chest sweat, a little bit of head sweat. I do not get shin sweat. That was the first time I ever experienced that. I'm like, I'm literally just sitting here drenched.
Oh, and the when I like fishing in the summer, right?
Yeah.
By like I'd say 9 in the morning, you look
Mhm.
like you've been swimming fully clothed. Like you're just soaked from head
Yeah.
to toe. You're just soaked. But by the time you get to that point, you're like pretty much comfortable in it. And you're just like, whatever. This
It
is
is what
just
it
what
is.
it is,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get any worse. So you're like, so it's like, this is what it is. And this is what
Yeah.
it's going to be the rest of the day, and then you get in the truck and you drive home and you dry off. And then you get back out and you start cleaning fish and you start sweating again. You're like, fuck. Oh, it's the starting sweating that's the miserable part. Like once you're already sweating, you're good. It's like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
cool. You know.
Yeah, you already got a layer on there, and if you're wearing a black shirt, you already have like the salt marks all over your shirt. I remember my dad's one customer, and they called him not because his last name was sober because he was never sober. At least that was a running joke. And I remember him telling me, he's like, I don't want to be sweating unless I'm with a woman or I'm working. Other than that, to just stand here and sweat is not a good time. And that kind of always stuck with me, even though I'm an aspiring Florida man. Maybe not after this hurricane as much, but like that part always stuck with me. I'm like, a woman or working is the only time you should be sweating. Like, yeah, that sounds about right, to be fair.
Well, being down here, I mean, you just get used to it. I mean, you'll get in the shower in the morning, you'll take a shower, sit down, drink a cup of coffee, walk out the front door, and before you get in your car, you're sweating. You're like, all right, whatever. It's just that one of those days. And
Par for the
so,
course.
yeah. And I mean, we have like 9 months of summer, so it's
Mhm.
just what it is. Last weekend was actually really nice. I caught those two reds early in the morning,
Mhm.
and the temperature finally got into the 60s. So it was like
Ooh.
67 degrees that morning.
Mhm.
And sure enough, man, as soon as that temperature dropped, those reds started freaking going. And I was like, hell yeah, this is fun. Because that's what you're after, man. Those things are fun to catch.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah, the closest to nature thing that I did recently, actually, it might have been at the same time you were catching the fish. I know that was last weekend. And you Red Hawk and you I think talked about this a little bit. Was swimming with the sharks, which was undoubtedly one of the coolest things I ever did in my entire life. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little fucking scared. When you're sitting on the edge of a boat and you see sharks going underneath you, everything you've learned from the time you're a kid is if you see sharks, you don't go near them. And then when you
Right.
just have a bunch of guys that say, "Hey, go ahead, dive in," I was like, "Yeah, all right. Well, I guess I'm gonna do this. I guess I'm gonna swim with the sharks." So, anyways, like it looks like they're like right underneath you, but then you get in the water and it's like 50 feet deep. So they literally take you in the middle of the ocean. It's in a place in Bimini in the Bahamas, called Shark Reef. It takes you about 25 minutes out from like where the islands are.
Mm,
And then these are all black tip reef sharks. So I looked up a whole bunch of shit about this after this. So just because it was so fascinating to me. You jump in the water, it's like 50 feet deep, and the sharks are about 30 feet down, right? And these sharks only get to be about 6.5 feet like long and about 150 pounds. So they're really not that big of sharks. But I mean,
mm.
obviously, if they wanted to, they could. Um, so they just kind of swim underneath you, and like occasionally you would see them turn around real quick. And I'm like, are we gonna die? But no, they just keep kind of doing their thing, swimming along. And I didn't really notice this, but they would progressively get higher and higher and higher and higher. So I go up to the guy because I want to get my life vest off because I just want to go down in the water and go a little bit deeper and maybe swim a little bit closer. And they told us don't touch them, don't ride the shark, don't take a selfie with the shark, the obvious caveats.
Yeah.
So I hand the guy my life vest. And I'm like, hey, I was always told you're like not supposed to splash around sharks. Like, what's the deal with this? Because obviously, like when everybody's jumping in, there's a lot of splash going on. He's like, oh, these sharks are very docile. He's like, if you were to like get out now after everybody had already swum in there for like 15 minutes and then jump back in, they might investigate and they might bite. But he's like, otherwise, they're pretty docile. So they give us like a timer, and then they're like, all right, well, after like 35 minutes, I think it was, they're like, all right, get back on the boat, and then they feed them. So the way I kind of read this is that I think they kind of teach them, like, hey, when you hear a bunch of splashing initially, that's just people coming in to visit, right? But then after a while, we're gonna feed you. So that way they kind of teach them, like, hey, there's a certain amount of time you're gonna be with people, chill out. And then as soon as you hear splashing again, and I'm sure they could probably smell too, like the fish and shit that they throw in.
Yeah, the
That's when
blood
you
and
know,
all that.
right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. That's when you know it's time to eat. So, like from 1959 until like now, black tip reef sharks have only killed 11 people. They're very docile. Their diet's like mostly like smaller fish and then like I think like plankton and stuff like that. So they're really not like
Well,
aggressive.
and you're almost as big as they are if you're not as big
Exactly.
or bigger because
Right.
and so that's gonna like kind of make them like, this isn't really a meal unless you get in there and you're bleeding and like
Yeah.
a woman might get in there at the wrong
Mhm.
time of the month and
Could get ugly.
yeah. Yeah, I just realized I didn't lock my door. Oh, my dog doesn't barge in. So,
I'll be watching for it and just come up and yeah.
yeah. Speaking of sharks, land shark.
We call those, well, yours specifically would be more like land seals, right? Because I don't know if you ever see the pictures. Would there used to be these pictures that go around and be a land seal right next to like a black pit bull, and they look almost identical. It's
Oh
actually pretty
yeah.
funny. Yeah. So we always joke that Lily's sister, my pit bull sister, she's only like 45 or 50 pounds. She's tiny, but she's like this real dark, like gray, and she looks like the land seal. So.
I'm gonna go to a seal reserve when I'm in Namibia.
Oh,
At
hell yeah.
Cape Cross, there's a
Mm.
big seal reserve there. So,
Do you know what kind of seals?
the African.
Okay.
I don't know what they're called. It's a
Okay.
seal,
Well, no,
dude.
no, when I there's like a couple different types. So like when we were in SeaWorld, they had like their own exhibit of seals, but
They're Zulu seals.
okay, I got you. I was thinking about like elephant seals, but those seals are like very territorial. They're like over, I think they're like 2 tons or something like that. They're like these big
Oh
long
yeah, those
noses.
are the ones that get so damn big.
Yeah, they fuck each other up too. I remember watching videos of them just all bloody, beating the shit out of
Yeah,
each
they got
other.
those hippo teeth.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hippos are dangerous as shit.
Oh yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I tell people this all the time. Like, if you're concerned about pit bulls attacking you, you are more likely to die from a hippo than you are from a pit bull. Because pit or fucking hippos are aggressive as fuck. They kill
Uh-huh.
500 people a fucking year.
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
Sharks
Yeah.
kill since and like bull sharks who are known to be more aggressive sharks. I think they've killed maybe 30 people in the last 25 years as compared to hippos, which fucking, like I said, 500 people a year. They're very territorial, they're fast, and they're aggressive.
Yeah, we get bull sharks around here.
Mm,
Some people catch them off the piers and stuff like that when they're fishing.
mm.
So yeah. I haven't been pier fishing in a long time. I'm thinking about going. I'm going this weekend because I'm gonna end up with a second Saturday off in a row.
Oh,
But
nice.
it's supposed to rain this weekend, which might just screw up everything.
Uh,
It's fishing's not fish don't really. It's hard to find a rainy day where you get into fish.
mm,
It's just for some reason it's all that fresh water mixing with the salt water. They kind of go to the deeper waters, and
mm.
it's just kind of a. It's not. They're usually not great days, but I think I just need to relax after the last couple of weeks. I'm just like, I just need to get away. It's like the only time that I can not be in constant thought about like everything that's going on is when I'm
Mm.
fishing. And so that's why I
Uh,
do it, I'll go out fish, man. I'll stay out for 12 hours. I won't even know how much time's passed.
mm.
Beatrix will be texting me like, "Have you caught anything?" I hadn't caught a damn thing all day, but I won't know it. I'm just like, oh shit, it's already been 10 hours. Maybe I should head home.
Nice. Yeah, for me, last week being on vacation was kind of like that. When we were on the cruise ship, you have to shut off your phone or else it'll just be roaming. And pretty much every single day, I'm like, all right, I spend exorbitant amounts of time on Twitter that I probably shouldn't spend. So, like, literally the entire time, if we left the room, my phone stayed in the room just so that way, we go enjoy, go eat. And like every time we got off the pier, I hardly got like any pictures at all. Like, I don't even think Sarah and I took one picture together at all. I took some pictures of the cruise ship and just, kind of if we stopped in the room, I'd flip through real quick, just message everybody if they needed me or something like that. But for the most part, I just, kind of stayed away from the phone, which is really, really nice. Yeah, man, maybe I need to fucking start leaving my phone at home in the mornings and just kind of enjoy the outdoors a little bit more. I don't really do any kind of fishing or anything like that, but like if I were the port fishing and like saltwater fishing down in Florida or something like that, that shit looks really cool. But to just sit like at the creeks here, I think I'd get bored pretty quick.
I wouldn't. Hell no. I love that shit. I love nature. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I'm naturally an introvert. So,
Mhm.
so like my favorite pastime as a kid was sitting outside and watching the grass grow. Like I'm fine just sitting out. I'll wander out into the woods and I'll just sit in one spot for hours, just
Mhm.
watching squirrels and just nature happen around me. I love that
Mhm.
shit. And so, yeah, that's how I relax. I go out there, get on the water, um, and there's a marsh that I like to fish. There's a road that drives right down into the marsh area,
Mhm.
and I can fish there. Or there's some flats out on this man-made island
Mhm.
and they both like you got the intercoastal waterway on one side of you, and you got the Sabine Lake on the other side of you. And so
Yeah.
I go down to where almost they meet, and like you'll be catching fish from both sides.
Mhm.
So I love that. I love that type of stuff. That's why I actually haven't been on a pier though, because I do it to be alone and just relax. And piers attract a lot of people. And
Mm.
so if I go to a pier, it's going to be during a weekday whenever I know there's not going to be a lot of people, or at night, go do night fishing off a
Mhm.
pier down into the deep waters. I mean, you're not going to get seriously deep. You might get 15, 20 foot down, but
Mhm.
you'll have like oyster reefs, and then you'll have like jetties running. And so these kind of like structures within the water attract
Yeah.
fish. And
Mhm.
so fish will be hanging around there. So you get like 15, 20 feet deep next to an oyster reef or next to the jetties, under a bridge or something like that. You start catching a lot of cool shit.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember when I was in Florida, when I was in like sixth grade, I want to say, and it was when my older sister was getting married, fucking the first time, third time, what the fuck ever. We went walking along the beach at night, and I remember seeing all the sharks swimming in the water. That was really cool. And then right before we got on the cruise ship this last weekend, there were turtles right in between the cruise ship and the pier, which was really, I mean, not like small turtles either. I mean, there were some
Hmm.
decent sized ones sitting
Yeah.
there, and I'd like never noticed that before. I feel like they were probably like there before, but that was pretty neat. And then that same place where we went to go swimming with the sharks at Bimini, um, you got off the boat, and then like to the right there were like all these fish. They almost look like barracudas, but I don't think they were. They had like the real long snouts. They were like still relatively small fish. um when we were walking on the pier, I remember looking off to the left, and there were sharks swimming down there, which was really, really cool because I don't think I ever seen a shark in like the wild, at least like to that point, because the water was crystal clear. So I mean, you could see them clear as day. And then, of course, like the coast, like the actual beach, which is gorgeous beach, was not even. 200 yards up ahead, and there's people just splashing around the water, and there's all these sharks up there just kind of doing their own thing, and they're doing their own thing. So, yeah, I just feel like fishing somewhere out there would be really fucking cool. I had a buddy that I went to Votech with. He actually caught a hammerhead shark. He put it up on Facebook, like, dude, that is so fucking cool.
Yeah, we don't I mean, you could catch them. You catch them like in deeper waters around
Mhm.
here. Like when you're fishing off the bank, though. I mean, you'll catch bonnet head and stuff like that, which aren't don't get as big as hammerhead. But I mean they have to be if you want to keep it and clean it, cook it, all that. They have to be like 2 foot long. You know,
Mm.
so yeah. So those
Mm.
some of the bigger fish, like there are limits for what you can keep and stuff like that. It varies state to state. I think Louisiana is a little bit more lenient on redfish than
Mm.
Texas is. Like Texas, you have an 8 inch like window you can keep and you get one tag a year. So you
Mm.
can keep one that's bigger. And
Mm.
so the limit's like between 20 inches and 28 in Texas. I think in Louisiana it's between 19 and 35, I think.
Mm.
So it's like you get a little bit more of a window in Louisiana than you do in Texas.
And as soon as you started mentioning tags, all I could think about is all my friends when I was in high school always going to get their deer tags because they go deer hunting every single year.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
would be sitting up in the stands at 4 o'clock in the morning, all bundled
Yeah,
up and
get your
just.
doe tag. Yep, yep. You get one
I'm
doe a year.
yeah, I'm
Make
kind of
sure she's a
surprised.
good one.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that people don't like they don't just say, yeah, you know what, guys, go to fucking town because dude, they're everywhere. I mean, you can't go down a single fucking highway here in Pennsylvania without seeing one bloated ass fucking Bambi sitting on the side of the
Yeah, I mean
road.
that's what you do in Pennsylvania though. You drive down
Yeah.
the road and you shoot them, and then you just run over them so they have tire marks on them, and you're all good. You just,
You know what? I was just I was looking through something on Facebook, and my one buddy I used to play in a band with, Mike, came up, and he was like a hunter guy. And I remember I just like envisioned this, and this is the way that it happened. But apparently there was like some roadkill or they hit a deer or something like that, and he stuffed it into the back of his truck just so that way, he could because he knew how to gut it and do all that shit. And
yeah.
I'm like, I picture you with this live deer, like putting the marks on your face and then just beating the shit out of this fucking deer to kill it and then stuff in the back of your truck, just so that way you would have some something to eat. And he's like, no, it wasn't like that. He's like, I think he did actually have to kill it, but he did, stuff in the back of his truck for something to eat. And just like the imagery was real funny. This like 6'3" dude, long black hair, lanky, and a goatee, fucking putting on a headband, going to town to murder a deer.
Oh no, they whenever the first deer I ever killed, so the first deer I ever killed, yeah, I got bathed in the blood, took a bit out of the heart, and it took a bite out of the heart. Like, yeah, that's like tradition in my family. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you do that. There's also a lot of Cherokee blood in my family, so that might be where it comes from. But yeah, yeah, like because I was with my grandpa, and my grandpa's mom was full-blooded Cherokee.
Yeah.
So, and he's the one who it was his idea to dunk me in blood and have me take a bite of the heart. So, very well, like could be some sort of like Indian tradition, but yeah, we did all that. I was like 14 years old, and first
Yeah.
deer I ever killed. Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds about right. I couldn't tell you how many fucking kids, I mean like kids I know that would go out hunting. So I don't know, that shit never fucking bothered me at all. There was a thing where somebody apparently did that out in front of like a middle school. I'm like, all right, man, come on. Like not in front of all the kids, not in front of the school. Like you can do that in the backyard, but like right in your front yard where you're gutting a deer. I
yeah,
think we're kind of pushing the limits there, dude.
yeah, yeah. Hanging it upside down, bleeding it out, all that good jazz. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think my parents, if I remember correctly, when they lived on this property, somebody hit a deer. It was during deer season. They hit a
Yeah.
deer and knocked the deer across the highway into my parents' mailbox.
Yeah. Oh.
And it's not like the mail doesn't deliver here anyway, so I don't know why they had a mailbox. But that mailbox has never been replaced, like because they don't deliver mail where I
Yeah.
live. So I live so far out in the boonies, nobody delivers mail here. I have to go to the PO box.
Yeah.
I think my dad actually had that deer cleaned. Like he cleaned that deer and brought it up to the butcher and had it slaughtered. So he had freaking deer.
Yeah, that's pretty good. When you were mentioning the mailbox, I was writing it down so that way I didn't forget. My grandfather was a different character, and obviously he came from a different time because he was born in 1945, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
So, and he never wrecked into anybody else, but he notoriously wrecked all of his own vehicles into his other own vehicles. So, apparently he was getting some work done on a Suburban down at the body shop that my family goes to, and he he took my dad's plow truck, or like him and my dad rode down together, and my dad dropped him off to get his Suburban. He's like, "Hey, why don't you just take your Suburban and then go home, and I'll take the plow truck, drop it off the shop, and do whatever I need to do." And my grandfather says, "No, no, 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 I'll take your plow truck." And my dad's like, "I don't know about that." It's like, "All right, whatever." So, my dad pulls the Suburban into his shop, right? And is waiting there for my grandfather to come up around. My grandfather comes pulling into his shop with the plow truck and nails his mailbox. And he said he watched the mail go all over the parking lot. The mailbox is gone. And then my grandfather goes into the building, throws down the keys on the desk, grabs his keys, and walks out. Doesn't say a word.
My dad said he walked out of the house the other day and his mailbox was scattered across the road. Somebody had backed into his mailbox and he has one. Yeah, I guess he had one of the brick mailboxes and just splattered it all over the place.
Oh,
So
they had to
so
hit
he
that
ended,
fucker hard.
yeah, so he ended up having to get it replaced. Oh,
Damn.
and he said it was funny because when he walked out and he saw his was like all freaking scattered across the road, there was
Yeah.
a guy across the street that worked for a company that was replacing this neighbor's mailbox. He's like, I
Mhm.
think that mailbox company fucking knocked over my mailbox, so I'd fucking pay him to replace my mailbox.
This motherfucker's creating job security. He needs one of them ring cams to just watch it. Like, all right, look at that motherfucker right there. It says like Stein's mailboxes or something like that. And that
Yeah,
motherfucker,
right.
surely enough, bam, clocked
Whack.
my mailbox. Yeah, man. You know what? I feel for him because that fucking home repair shit ain't cheap. I just had my back roof redone and oof. Yeah, originally the original estimate to what it was, a lot of fucking money, man. I feel for
Mm,
fucking people that have to do
yeah,
shit that way.
yeah. Roofing is expensive, man. Roofing is
Yeah.
expensive.
Well,
I'm
especially in
I'm
the summer
redoing
months.
something. I'm redoing some stuff in my kitchen.
Mhm.
Well, I say I'm redoing it. I've bought most of the supplies. I haven't started doing shit.
Yeah.
So, and now that everything at the store is 25% off, so I might
Oh,
as well just go ahead and buy the rest of it,
yeah,
even
fuck it.
though it's like, even though it's like, I don't want to spend my whole damn check on crap to just work on my house.
Well, it's like, well, now's as good a time as ever. Jesus Christ, if everything else
Right.
is so fucking expensive, might as well fucking bite the bullet now.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, I had a breaker that was fucked up on my house for like years. And the breaker was for my dryer, my furnace, my AC, and some shit in the kitchen. And it got to the point that like occasionally it would just all shut off. So I would just kind of like rig it up just enough to like stay hooked in. And I bought the breakers and everything, and I like didn't know if they were the right ones. I never replaced a breaker
It's
before,
just
so I'm like, okay.
straight wire your freaking furnace and your dryer to your damn main breaker. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck it.
there we go. Yeah, all right. This wire goes right here and on. But I bought the breakers and then I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to leave for vacation, then I need to know all this shit's going to work because I don't want to like come home to, my AC having to run on full blast for like a week straight. So, I thought it was gonna be like a big project and I watched some videos and I'm like, oh, that doesn't look too bad. Like, fuck, I can take an engine out of a car. I have to be able to replace a fucking breaker. So, of course I yelled at Sarah. I'm like, go get or here, take my phone and you're going to hold the flashlight right there. So that way I can see what I'm doing. Sure enough, main breaker off, one screw out, pull the breaker out. I'm like, oh yeah, that's why that thing's fucked up. It's because it's not biting to like the main where the power comes in. And then you take the wire, you tighten it up on the screw there, and then plug it in, make sure it's snapped in, and you're done. It was like 10 minutes. I'm like, I waited like years to do this. I had that breaker sitting there for like the last couple months. It took me all of like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes like no time to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got it, man. I got to do this before I go to Namibia. I got to, so on my truck, when I changed the battery, the
Mhm.
first time I changed the battery on my pickup, on the positive, when I unscrewed it, it's got one of those weird like box type things that sits down on the terminal on the battery,
Mhm.
right?
It's
And it
like a
had this.
fuse, right?
No, it doesn't have a fuse on it. It's got like it's like a shut off,
Mhm.
right? And so whenever I was trying to take it off, it's got this weird looking nut on there that was kind of round, but it had like two flat sides. And I went to take it off. Well, it broke.
Ooh.
The nut did. And so you can't tighten it or loosen it.
Mhm.
So I checked with the dealership with Nissan. It was like $360 to replace this part.
Yeah.
And I went to O'Reilly to see what I could figure out. Well, they have the terminal shims. So I slid a
Yeah.
shim on there and I mean I was barely able to get the terminal on there
Yeah.
and get it connected. But if that box slides, let me see. If I'm looking at it, it slides to the passenger side. So if
Mhm.
it rotates to the passenger side, it won't get contact. I have to get up under the hood and I have to turn it back towards the driver's side so it sits up flush against the battery for it to get contact. And I think it's that
Mhm.
shut off that just keeps like shutting it off because that cable moves just a tad bit.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I'll drive like 300 miles, won't even have an issue with it. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'll drive 40 miles and it won't fucking start. And I just have to pop the hood, I have to turn the damn thing. So I got to
That's
fix that
annoying.
before it. Yeah, it's just an annoyance because there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it. It's just like this little freaking nut that's causing me a headache that I'm like, ugh. But but the fact of the matter is they don't sell the nut anywhere. I can't buy it anywhere
You got
except
to
from the
buy a whole
dealership,
shut
and
off,
I got to
right?
buy the whole freaking part. And I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want to exchange that whole part out. I just need to replace this freaking nut. And it's a
Mhm.
pain. It's such a pain in the ass. And I just haven't done it. I need to do it before I go to Namibia. So when Beatrix tries to go to the store or some shit, she's not having issues with the car. So
Oh, dude, yeah, I get that. It was when Sarah's transfer case went out, that might have been the last time we did a show together, if I remember correctly. Maybe or maybe not. Anyways, um
about
that
a
was a
month and a
week.
half ago. Yeah.
It was we did we opened for Hinder and then we played Rock for Life and
It
we
was
towed our
right
case.
before you opened for Hinder. It was the
Okay,
last
all
time
right.
we. Oh yeah.
So we moved the camper up to this place up in Cowansville, just about an hour away from our house. And the camper was sitting there all weekend and like we towed it back to her dad's house where we keep it. And I remember we put it there and like everything was good. I'm like, man, this is a fucking awesome weekend. I had a great time. Life is good. And then Sarah goes to go on a fire call, and then she comes back and she's like, "My car's making a weird noise." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Well, let me see it." And so I heard it, and I'm like, "Oh, it sounds like something scraping." And I went to go drive it, and like as soon as I started to take it around a corner, I knew exactly what it was. I was like, "All right,
Mhm.
well, call the tow truck because guess what? It's getting that." And like I was saying earlier, it massively worked out in my favor. So I got paid 8 hours to do it. I They covered the tow bill and we didn't have to pay a dime out of pocket. So I mean, like they've just completely where I got paid to put it in, didn't have to pay to get it towed there, and she got a $1,700 part, and I got paid, a whole day's worth of work, and it only took me like 6 hours to do it. So like
Nice.
all around, this is a pretty damn good deal. And now that's like the only thing that ever goes bad on those terrains with the six cylinders. Um, so yeah, I was pretty stoked about that. Now like her terrain's good to go forever. I undercoated it shortly after that, so she's almost done paying on it. Thank fucking God.
Well, I love these Nissans, man. I just can't say
Nice.
enough about the little Nissan Frontiers.
Mhm.
Uh, my uncle had one. He put 500,000 miles on it, and
Hmm.
we've had this thing. We bought it. It's a 2016. We bought it brand new.
Mhm.
It has 91,000 miles on it, and the only thing that I've had to do was change the battery, um, uh, air sensor, air intake sensor, and
Yeah.
then oil changes. I haven't even changed a spark plug in this truck.
Yeah. Most
Like,
spark plugs now they recommend to go like 100,000 for most of them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just this. Oh, and change tires. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I've changed tires twice since we got it.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's for 91,000 miles. I can't say enough about like not having to do a whole lot of maintenance or anything to this truck. Never had any issues with the truck
Mm,
other than this little battery thing. So it's like whatever. That air intake sensor, that was a pain in the ass. So because
mm,
that caused one of my terminals in my battery to go out. And so I ended up costing about $700 to replace the sensor and the battery. But
mm.
yeah. But other than that, one
Yeah,
not
actually,
bad.
all that doesn't sound even all that bad. Hey, I had my cousin Lori, her husband Fran had a Nissan Frontier, and he put a whole bunch of transmissions in it. So it might have been, it was, I think it was one of the older ones. So I don't know much about the newer Nissans, but I know like some of the older Nissans were pretty rough. But no, man, I'm glad you had good luck with that. It's why I still drive
Well,
fucking
like I said,
Cobalts,
my
dude.
yeah, like I said, my uncle had one. I mean, this must have
Mhm.
been like a 92 model.
Hmm.
And he'd put 500,000 miles on that truck.
Fuck yeah.
Like that truck lasted forever. I
Yeah.
bought in 98 and yeah, I mean it ran great. It was a manual transmission. It was the
Yeah.
last year they did the regular cab before
Mm.
they went all extended cab.
Yeah.
And when I was in the military, when I was in basic training, my dad was using it, and somebody hydroplane jumped the curb and freaking landed in the cab of the truck, totaled it out. I mean, yeah, we were still paying on it too. I mean, it wasn't even paid
Oh,
off. Yeah, I mean, the truck was only 3 years old, so
wow.
at the time, yeah, so that sucked.
Fuck.
But yeah,
Yeah,
um,
what a kick in the balls. Yeah, dude, I don't know what
You brought up Hinder. I want to ask you: have you listened to
yeah.
the new Tim Pool song?
No.
I
I
haven't
can't bring
either.
myself to do it.
Have you listened
I
to any of his songs?
I have. They're so like mediocre. Like
I
I don't think he's a
can't.
good singer.
Well, I mean, well, what gets me, and I don't like the songs at all.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one he released, um, that he had that issue with the Muse. Um, I can't remember the name of the song. Anyway, I thought the music was okay, but yeah, the
Yeah.
vocals was just like, I was just like, come on. There's no, there's like, his vocals are so defined. It's just like this one area he sings in, and
Yeah.
there's no expression.
It's yeah, very monotone. Yeah, I think I know exactly what you're getting at, and I agree. I literally thought you were gonna ask about the new Hinder song because Hinder did just put out a song like a week or two ago, and I actually like it quite a
Well,
bit.
yeah, it's just like he has no range. It's just like he
Yeah.
stays in this one spot, and it's like
All right.
I don't know, man. Like experiment.
Yeah.
Your voice isn't terrible, but
Mm.
it's just gets so old so fast.
Yeah. Well.
It kind of wears on me because I'm just like,
Mm.
it sounds so whiny.
Yeah.
And you're
Well,
calling
where's
your music rock, and I'm like, that does not sound like rock music to me.
well, yeah, like people said like new rock is like 21 Pilots. I'm like, have you heard some of this shit? Like this it's not rock at all. Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know what
But
21 Pilots is.
yeah, okay, yeah, keep it that way. Um, but I don't know, like I generally defaulted to like Pantera, but like if you listen to the Great Southern Trendkill or Far Beyond Driven, it's like there is soul and fucking raw aggression and anger in every single fucking song. Or what the fuck was I? Oh, I was driving the Corvette, all right, and we took the top off and everything, and I think I might have texted you this, but I was listening to Where I'm Going, which is just undoubtedly one of the greatest songs ever written. And there's something about just taking the hood off or, the roof
Where
off a
I'm going.
Corvette. Yeah, by Down, off their second or
Oh
third
yeah, yeah,
album.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just listen to that with the hair or the air breezing past my bald ass head and, just the lowly vocals of Phil Anselmo over top of like this real like bluesy acoustic guitar. It's just something fucking mystical about that. And then of course, Stone the Crow, just like some of their more mellow
Yeah.
stuff for Down in like a 86 Corvette just feels right, man. Or Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar felt right
Learn
too.
from this mistake is one of my favorite Down songs.
Oh, absolutely incredible. Love that song. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. And what was the other one? Jail, that
yeah.
he wrote for Mike Williams, was so
Mm.
good.
Oh,
Such a
I actually
good
didn't know
song.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's written for Mike Williams when Mike Williams got locked up. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Another song that kind of reminds me of that is Angel's Son by Seven Dust. They wrote that for Lynn Straight from Snot when he passed away. And that is one of the coolest music videos ever made. They made I think they had like two different recordings, and this was the second recording. It wasn't the one that was on the album, but basically it was like, okay, you had Clint Lowry who sang for most of the song, and then obviously LaJohn, Seven Dust main singer, sang on different parts of the song. So it started off with like Clint around like a campfire, right? It's just him sitting on a log playing acoustic guitar, singing the song.
Mm,
And then throughout the video, all these people from all like the 90s and early 2000s new metal bands start coming to the picture, like Dez from Cold Chamber, some of the other guys from Snot, just all the bands you knew from back then. I think,
Mudvayne,
yeah, probably,
Corn.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these guys started like coming in and to around the campfire. And at the very end of this, or at the very end of the video, it has like Lynn Straight's Ghost sitting there, and it says like Rip Lynn Straight. It's just the coolest fucking thing ever. And that song is
Yeah.
incredible. Seven Dust is one of those bands, at least for me, that like never got the recognition they deserved. And that it's
Mm.
going back to like somebody's tone and passion. Like
Dude,
the two people,
my dad introduced me to the Seven Dust in the 90s,
oh, so good. Their
and
90s stuff is so
they were
good.
so good. It
Yeah.
like it was I'd say Seven Dust and King's X were two bands that my
Mm.
dad introduced me to in the 90s that I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, these bands are so good." And they just never hit big. I was
Yeah.
listening to another one the other day, actually. It just popped in my head, Cry of Love. You ever heard
Mm.
them? They
No.
kind of have this kind of
Write that
like
down.
they kind of have this like kind of like um late 70s, early 80s kind of Bad Company, Leonard Skinner vibe to them. Really good, like kind of bluesy, just southern rock,
Yeah.
like the Black Crows kind of Brother Kane kind of stuff. Really
Mm.
good, just wholesome, like southern rock. I just love that style of music.
Nah. Yeah, I've been a band that comes to mind when you mentioned that is I think it's Dirty Honey. They're kind of like a real Zeppelin style kind of rock band that's more modern. I kind of dig this revival of like rock. So there's like Greta Van Fleet is obviously like the biggest one. Dirty Honey would be one.
I haven't heard great of Van Fleet in years.
Yeah, I really just I mean I'm
Are
like
they still
indifferent.
around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Dirty Honey, King with a Y. They're fucking awesome. Although I don't think they're really doing anything anymore. Blacktop Mojo, although they're a little bit more like modern rock, they still have some elements of that. Crowbot is probably my favorite
Robot's
out of all this.
great.
Oh, they're so sick. And
They're so good.
yeah, their singer has a fucking range. Like
Mm,
I had no idea. Like if you listen to their first album, he really doesn't do any like the lower stuff, but then I think it was like the third album, he sang real low. I'm like, wow, he's good.
right.
Really good.
Yeah.
And then
There
like
are a lot, so many bands out there though, that are really good that never got recognition, like the Sword. Like the
yeah, the
Sword
sword
is one of
kicks
those
ass.
bands. It's like they're so good, and it's like, come on, man. You're just
Yeah.
waiting. You're just waiting for them to headline a tour. Just one day, the
Mhm.
Sword's going to be headlining a tour. So yeah, there's some really good bands out there. That 10,000 Mods is really good. That's that band that my dad
Yeah.
introduced me
Yeah.
to. They're so good.
Mhm. Thousand Mods. Yeah, I haven't heard of them either. I wrote down that Cry Love. I'm gonna have to write down some of these. I've been listening to like so much newer stuff, like newer metal, and I have been getting into Slayer a little bit more. I gotta, I have to repent for being a, Slayer hater for the longest time because,
I just can't do it because it's
really,
just, yeah, it's kind of like the Tim Pool vocal, or like ACD. I always said they were the ACDC of thrash metal.
okay, yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's fair. It's a, but it's like if that's what you want, you know that they give it 100% of the time, every single time. So like, um, I remember reading this comparison. It's always stuck with me. But Unearth being like in that new wave of American heavy metal with like Lamb of God, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, and all them. Unearth was like they called the Slayer of like that era of music because
mhm.
they had a consistent sound that was heavy and they never like deviated. They never like experimented. Not like necessarily a bad way. They just kind of
Yeah,
stuck with their sound.
that's more like deathcore though.
Yeah, well, like
I was never a big deathcore fan.
yeah, I kind of got into it because of all like the early 2000s metalcore stuff, but like to the point it was like Slayer. you could always expect Slayer to be Slayer. If you wanted them to be, Metallica's Black Album or Load, you weren't going to get that from Slayer. But you knew that, like, if
Thank
you wanted
God.
raw, if you wanted raw aggression, you went to Slayer because Slayer always would provide. So like that kind of stuff's cool. And then like even some hardcore stuff I like. I think you didn't like them, but Sleep Token, I'm not like huge into them, but like if it's on, I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually good. But like I don't understand.
I don't understand why they call them metal.
Yeah, they have some metal parts like screaming and breakdowns, but it's almost to the point where I would agree
They're
that they're
almost
not
like
metal.
they're like industrial. They're like Ministry or it's
I see where you're going because it's more like they have so many like pop elements, if you will, like as in like the synths and like the singing and then like all these like I don't know how to properly explain it, but like it's very poppy and then occasionally have metal parts in it. So like if you listen to Take Me Back to Eden, that was the first song I ever heard by them, and it was when we were going to meet Kelly Clarkson in New York. And I remember hearing on the radio, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty fucking good. Like I dig it. And then I checked them out and like I don't want to say I was disappointed, but it's like it's good, but I don't understand how they're like the big like they were like the biggest metal band last year. I'm like, how? They're good, but I mean they're not like that good.
dude, freaking they. I mean, they don't hold a candle to Gajira. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay, so yeah, I don't think you or I talked about this, but fucking Gojira at the Olympics, that to me was
oh
one of the
my God, it was
coolest things
so
ever.
cool.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like to me, it's like this is like our guys. These are our people pulling through. Like I couldn't be happier. And like I remember Andrew Tate tweeted out like Satanists control the West. I'm like, first of all, like this is like an ancillary of Western culture. And on top of that, like Gojira of all people, fucking Gojira. Like these guys were playing bars in that same fucking town, probably 20 miles away 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And now they headlined the fucking Olympics. To see Joe and Mario Duplantier up there fucking doing what they do best, I'm like, fucking rock and roll, man. Because you know what?
right.
The generations and now like the music that we're going to get out of that 10, 15, 20 years down the line, because people are like, oh my God, look at, this is going to be like a major part of like French history is seeing Gojira fucking play at the Olympics. Like that was so cool. And like people freaked out about like the training stuff. I agree that was retarded. Like that whole mocking of the final dinner or whatever it was. That
Last Supper.
Last
Yeah,
Supper, that was it. I'm sorry. All that shit was retarded, but Gojira at the fucking Olympics, I couldn't be bothered to be negative because that was so fucking cool. And Gojira deserves every single bit of fame and hype they get after that.
yeah. No, that was killer, man. I really enjoyed it. I like the way that they intermingled like French history into the
Mhm.
show, and then the opera singer. That sounded so cool with the opera singer, man. I was like,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah. But I mean, like, from my perspective, I couldn't imagine being like a kid, like Gojira, that's all they've known is playing heavy metal music. So, like, imagine being a kid, picking up a guitar and just, doing what you love. And then you play the bars, and then you get to the bigger shows, which they've played. Like,
Oh
you
yeah.
go on, like, I remember watching them at like Download in 2018 or something like that. And, there's all these comments about whales and stuff like that. And then someone like threw an inflatable whale across, and of course, somebody has to go down and mark down the timestamp and everything like that. So, just like to know that they started off kind of like I did almost. It's just like a kid in their room playing their guitar or something like that, listen to Metallica, and then now they make national headlines for doing what they love. That's just I can't express how fucking beautiful that is.
Right.
It's just so
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Dude, that'd be like if the Olympics come to freaking the United States next year and Mastodon's freaking playing.
Right.
Like
Exactly. Like to see fucking, them to play Blood and Thunder at the fucking
right.
Olympics or at the Super Bowl or something like that with like whale graphics or like a fucking
Or
paper
even
mache whale.
Oblivion, which is a little bit more like
Yeah,
mainstream sounding,
sure.
but Oblivion's a great song, man. And
Yeah.
people would dig it, you know? They'd be
Yeah.
like, people would be like, oh yeah, I could do this, you know?
Yeah, because that song in particular has like some real grooves to it, and then the chorus is real catchy, and like the
It
guitar
sounds like
riffs
it
to
was
it.
written for radio.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
honestly. And that's kind of like it was after that album, Crack the Sky, that people really started to throw them
Yeah, they're
shit
not going to be
for.
playing Call of the Mastodon on.
Yeah, right. But like The Hunter was like the first album that people are like, oh, they sold out. But I don't know, that was still a good album. Like
That was
for
a good
me,
album.
yeah, my bar for good is pretty low. So like I love The Hunter. Once More Around the Sun was after that. No, was it Once More Around the Sun? I think it was Once More Around the Sun. Came out after that. That was 2014. And then they had that Kingdom of Sand or Emperor of Sand, and that album was kind
Yeah.
of like a return. It was a little bit of a return to the roots. That was really good. And then I listened to Hushed and Grim, and I know that was sort of like more return to the roots, but I haven't listened to a whole ton of it. And then
Well,
you,
what happened? What you can tell that what happened was they started taking some vocal lessons,
yeah,
and they found out that Brand could sing.
yeah. Did I tell you I met him?
Did you?
Yeah. So,
Oh, cool.
okay. So I went and saw Mastodon Lamb of God, and I took our one friend who watched our dogs, and he's, I love this kid. He's high functioning autistic, right? So we go and have a couple drinks at the bar right beforehand. And then we go in and we meet up with a couple of our or with a couple of my friends. And he takes a hit off like a vape pen, which surely enough had some weed in it. So we're sitting there and Macedon's up. And you know what? I guess I should tell you this first. Kerry King, it was Malevolence, Kerry King, Macedon, and Lamb of God. And Kerry King's guitar player, his rhythm guitar player, was fucking Phil Demmel from Machine Head. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, Kerry King's not the best guitar player on stage in his own band. But yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily because like Kerry King kind of does suck a guitar, but like not the worst guitar player. But Phil Demmel's a fucking beast. So when I saw he was up there, I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And then they had the singer from Death Angel singing for them. I don't know who the drummer was, but and Kyle Sanders, who originally played with Blood Simple, and it's actually Troy Sanders. I think it's his older brother, but he played in
Mhm.
Blood Simple and he played for Hell Yeah as well. Um, so
Hell yeah, put on a good show. I didn't
yeah.
really like their music, but
Mhm.
seeing them, I saw them live open up for Lamb of God. Or no, Lamb
Yeah.
of God open up for them. It was it was
Okay.
Silosis, Lamb of God, Hell yeah,
Oh, I know
closed
that.
out the
Yeah, I was
show.
at yeah, I went to
That
that
was
tour.
what, 2013?
It
Yeah.
might have been no, I think it was 15. I think it was
No, it was
15 or
13.
16.
It was no, it was 13. It
Okay.
had to be 13
Hmm.
because it was before Beatrix moved here. So
Gotcha.
it
Okay.
was the December before she moved here, and she moved here in August of 2014. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So after Kerry King went on, it was Mastodon, and I'm standing there watching, and they open up with Blood and Thunder because
That was
this
the
is the
same year. That was the same week. Actually, they came to Houston the same
Mhm.
week that Death Clock and played with
it was I know which story you're talking
Machine
about. All
Head.
That Remains, Machine Head,
Yep.
Black Dahlia Murder, and
Yep.
Death Clock closed out.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So Kerry King finished up. We go get another drink, and he gets a shirt, and we're standing there watching Macedon, and it's the Astro the Leviathan tour, right? So they're playing all of Leviathan, and Lamb of God played all Ash of the Wake. So we're
Hmm.
standing there, and they open up with Blood and Thunder. There's fucking pyrotechnics and everything. I'm like, man, this is fucking awesome. My buddy Connor's right beside me, and he's just like zonked out. I'm like, are you all right, man? And I'm like, there's like a fucking heavy metal band for you. This is awesome. And he just points to the ground and he puked. I'm like, oh, dude. Because
Damn.
he was drunk and high as fuck. So I'm like, all right, well, you
Yeah.
know what? Here, finish your water. And once you finish your water, you're gonna go crowd surfing. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, you'll be fine. So he finished up his water. I'm like, all right, give me everything that you don't want to lose because when you go crowd surfing, it's possible you could lose it. I don't want you to lose it. I'll hold on to it. So here, all right. So I sent him crowd surfing. I'm like, all right, well, whenever you land, go to the right and I'll meet you up there. And as soon as he went up, I went up next. And then I looked and you couldn't go to the right. I'm like, oh my God, this kid is a high functioning autist. He's drunk and high. And I just lost him at a Mastodon concert. I am the worst person on the face of the planet. And he doesn't have his phone or his keys or his wallet or anything. This kid's fucked. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? So I'm like freaking the fuck out. I'm still enjoying the show. Mastodon's on. And finally I found him and he's happy and having a good time. But I was like, holy fuck. So anyways, it started raining and Lamb of God was playing. It was fucking awesome. So we go to leave and fucking Brand's just standing there right outside of like where you can go get beer, just chilling. I was like, oh
Mhm.
my God. And that motherfucker's tall. I mean, like probably 6'4".
Oh,
Motherfucker was
really?
tall. Yeah, he's tall as fuck. And so yeah, we sat there
Well, that's
bullshitting.
surprising because everybody makes a big fucking throws a big fit about how tall Danny Carey is because
Mm,
Danny Carey's like 6'5", and I didn't
okay.
realize Brand was that tall.
Yeah, Brand's a tall motherfucker. But yeah, he was cool as fuck. Super chill. Just shot the shit with him for a few minutes. Told him, I'm about the band I plan, and then fucking, went on our merry way. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's
They
cool.
kicked ass.
Yeah. Last time I saw Down was in New Orleans,
Mm.
and so it was the same week that they had Voodoo Fest in New Orleans. Well, this
Ooh.
Voodoo Fest was uh I don't remember who all played because there's a lot of bands that
Yeah.
played Voodoo Fest, but it was Soundgarden headlined, and just
Mm.
before Soundgarden, the co-headliner was Mastodon. And
Oh.
so I'm at the Down show, and I just seen Crowbar play with shit. It's probably a band you wouldn't know anyway. I don't know why I'm that worried about remembering them. But I just seen Crowbar play the night before, and so we headed down to New Orleans. Actually, Metairie. It's right outside of New Orleans. It's a little town right outside of New Orleans. So we go to Metairie. They're playing this little club. So Harp opens up. I'm hanging out with Jimmy Bauer
Mm.
because this
Nice.
is this is where I met Jimmy Bauer, and his mom was there. He introduced me to his mom because his mom knew my great grandma,
Oh wow.
and so we're just bullshitting. And they go up, and when they played Bury Me in Smoke, Mastodon, the whole band had shown up to the show and got on
Oh
stage with them and played Bury Me in Smoke to close out the
yeah.
show. It was so fucking cool, dude. But yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't get to meet any of the Mastodon guys, but yeah,
Uh,
uh yeah, that was fun, man. Like just hanging out with Jimmy, getting to meet Kirk, got to meet Pepper. Um,
mm.
you know, Rex was already gone, but
Yeah.
other than that, the original lineup was there. Kirk was still with them and everything.
Yeah.
So
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember when I
everything's kind
saw.
of fallen apart since Kirk kind of said, "Oh no, I'm just going to focus on Crowbar." But so
Mm.
I saw Kirk with Crowbar the night before, and then we went and we saw him in Metairie
Oh,
with
yeah.
Down. It was pretty fucking wild.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think I seen them a couple times with Kirk and then one or two times without Kirk. They played a couple shows with the OG lineup recently, if I remember correctly. I know they did some kind of, it was like a big deal that they were playing again, but Kirk was with them. Now I remember when I saw them at Rock on the Range, and same deal when they played Bury Me in Smoke. They had Vernon Reed, I think it is, from Living Color come out, and he just fucking laid
Oh,
down a rip and
cool.
sell it then. Oh, dude, just
Nice.
everybody from all these different bands comes out and goes on stage, and yeah, dude, that kind of shit's cool. So I think that's kind of Phil that drives that policy of,
Yeah, he
you
loves
know,
that. They love that
yeah,
doing that shit, bringing out on
right,
those other bands. Yeah, and they're like showing promotion. Um,
yeah,
I've seen him probably 6 times. I mean, I'd have to sit and think, but it's
yeah,
probably been at least 6 times I've seen Down play. And
yeah.
I've always loved Down. I've always thought they were such a great band. You
Mhm.
know, Eyes of the South, Ghost Along the
Yeah.
Mississippi, just
That
some
whole first
just
album. Yeah.
great. Well, Ghost Along the Mississippi was off the
That's on the
second album.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just such cool riffs, and
Mhm.
you know, they had Kirk had won Riff Master of the Year one year
Yeah.
from, and so he actually had a shirt made, and I was never able to find it. Was It was Kirk, and underneath it just said Riff Master, and I always wanted to buy that shirt, but I was never
Yeah.
able to find it when it was still out in print, and I was like, man, fuck! Every time I look, it's sold out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always wanted that Kirk shirt where it had him, like it was like a silhouette of him, where he's like
Yeah.
standing on stage, like
Mhm.
kind of like bowed out with the freaking guitar up. It said Riff Man. I was like, that's such a cool shirt, but I
Yeah.
never was able to buy that. You heard the new? Did I send you the new Black Label Society?
Oh, the Gallows. Yeah, you and I
You,
talked about it a little bit. Very
yeah,
Sabbathy, like you said.
I
I
love it.
fucking dig
I
it though.
liked
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I sent it to my mom because my mom loves Zach, and so I
Yeah.
sent it to my mom. She was like, "Oh my god, this is so good." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, your
Yeah.
boyfriend's back at it."
So you know what? I'm kind of bummed, and I'm probably gonna try to go there next year. But Berserkis, I don't know if you saw that where it's literally just this huge event that they have in the middle of Pennsylvania here. I mean, it's like it was like 4 hours away from me. They have like a strongman
I think you
contest.
mentioned it to me, but
Yeah, okay.
I'd never heard of it.
Well, it was the first year they did it. So, oh yeah, that's right. Because we were talking about the burrito eating contest and a strongman
Yeah,
contest.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyways, it was Black Label Society headlined. Cody Jinks, Rival Sons, Clutch, the Iron Maidens, and the Atomic Punks. So they had like some big name cover bands, and then like some bigger bands, Blackstone Cherry as well. Who I think you would probably like them. They're like kind of some of
I
the
no,
earlier.
I've heard their
Okay,
stuff. My
yeah,
brother
yeah,
was
they're
a big
good.
fan of theirs back in the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I dig
they've
them
been
quite a
around
bit.
forever, so
Yeah, yeah, they
yeah.
kick ass.
I always wondered, like, is Texas Hippie Coalition still around?
Yeah, yeah. You know what's funny is that venue that we played with Hinder at, they were just at about 2 months ago. No,
They're good,
about a
man. Have
month
you
ago.
ever
Oh yeah,
seen
I dig
them?
them.
They're
Yeah, I
good.
saw them once. Yeah, I saw them
Yeah,
rock on the range.
that dude's still 500 pounds.
Yes.
It's a it's like Blues Travelers on metal.
Yeah, I actually I said we should try to get on that show, but we ended up just not doing that because we're gonna be playing with Tommy Vext at that same venue um in about a month. So yeah, we didn't want to like oversaturate ourselves at that venue. But yeah, I mean, I saw videos of Texas Hippie Coalition playing there, fucking packed wall to wall. I mean, look at a good time.
You can't think about that, man. You got to bring back the fucking house band, man. Remember the Doors were the house
Mm.
band down in San Francisco for years before they hit big. You gotta
Mm.
that house band becoming a house band is a big thing. And look at all these guys that freaking
Yeah.
had toured for years and then their careers fall off and then what do? They go become the house band at a fucking casino in Vegas and
Yeah,
make
yeah.
tons of money. You can
The
make a
Lux
lot of money being a house band.
the Las Vegas residency, that's like a real big thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna be playing a big flea market up here, which I know that sounds retarded, but it's called Hazen. And they have like these giant fucking stage with all these speakers and shit. My drummer Matt plays in a Motley Crue tribute band, and he said that like it was huge this past year, so we're gonna be playing there next year. I'm actually really fucking stoked about it. So I'm kind of hoping, and I think I was telling you about this too, that we could kind of like go out and go to different areas, in 2024 or 2025, because I think next year is gonna be a big year. We got some fucking killer tunes, and I'm just so fucking stoked about the future of a Common Crown. And then
Yeah.
it seems like the right time. Like we finally got a good lineup. Funny enough, there was a guy that we were going to try out for guitar, and I still have no personal problems with this dude. But uh, so Brandon, our guitar player that we have now, had joined the band after he played with Stephen Matt, my drummer and bass player, for like 10 years. He quit playing music for 10 years. Now he came back, and like you can't really predict something like that, right? And then if these guys played with this dude for 10 years, I can't really be surprised when they say, hey, we like this guy and we want him back in the band. In fact, my drummer said like his dream band was me and Brandon on guitar, and now he has it. So this dude, and this goes to like a bigger topic, but like he messaged me at like 4 a.m. this morning, this really angry message about how me and my band stole his whole passion for music out of him, and that our band was mediocre anyways. And just a couple months ago, when he was potentially going to join, he said that this was like his dream situation and all this
So
shit. And
your
like,
passion was mediocre. I would be bragging
oh,
about that, brother.
yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. So he sent all of these long messages and then typed out a huge Facebook status and called us all egotistical pricks and all this shit. And I'm like, man, if you're still angry about this shit months later, I don't think it was like the band that was the problem here. And he's saying that he dodged a bullet. I'm like, nah, dude, I think this is on you. If you're in a situation where you're willing to give up music because it never worked out for you and all these bands just didn't work out for you, I'm beginning to think that it may not be the bands that were the fucking problem.
Right, right. That's like
Yeah.
that whole Dr. Phil freaking line. What do
Mhm.
all these relationships have in common? You.
Yeah. Well, dude, people don't like to fucking consider that. And that's exactly the way that this fucking dude was. And I still, like I said, I have no personal problems with him. He fucking hates me now. But, he sent angry messages to people. I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's like, go fucking shoot up our venue now. But Yeah, dude, fuck all that shit. Like, if your passion went, like, for me, I'd still be good with playing guitar in the bedroom. But, it just happens that I have like the greatest people in the world to play in a band with.
Well,
So, I mean,
you gotta write one good solo before you can go down like Dimebag, man. You can't just
yeah.
get shot in a venue for no
Oh,
reason.
did you watch that interview I sent you with Rita Haney and that one guy?
I never did watch it.
Oh, dude, so good. There's so many just
It's
like
hard for me to
little.
watch. It's hard for me to watch stuff like that.
Mm.
It's I don't know. I got to be in the mood for it. I got to be
Yeah.
in the right space to watch stuff like that. Um, I I don't maybe I just mistake the way that these things happen, but
Yeah.
it seems like interviewers try to find these and being a podcaster, I feel like I can say this. They try to find these people in vulnerable situations
Mm.
and down on their luck or and they're trying to they give them this like lifeline, you know,
They're
and I just I gotta I gotta be in the right headspace to watch something like that because sometimes it just
yeah,
makes me angry. And so
understandable.
I just didn't watch it. I was just kind of like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like she's never like really been in the spotlight. I've seen
Yeah.
interviews with her, and so the name like sounded familiar to me
Yeah.
whenever you sent it to me. But then I was just like, I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to. I don't. It feels like it's almost taking advantage of her,
Yeah, no, I
in a
understand where
way.
you're coming from, but to me, in my read of the situation, it wasn't that way at all. Like, she seemed very happy about everything at peace. And like, they didn't like start there either. Like, she just kind of delve off into the history, and she also told like some personal stuff too. But no, that interview wasn't like that at all.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so and she was also kind of
I should
advertising for.
trust you more. I really
Oh no,
should.
dude, it's okay. I would be skeptical too, and I think your perspective's very warranted because that is kind of a thing in the podcaster sphere where I don't want to say exploit because I know that has like Marxist implications when you say something like that, but like I get what you're saying by like you're looking at somebody and you're thinking, oh, I can get clicks if I use this person's misfortune for my benefit, but after listening to it, it's like, oh, there was like a she never got to tell this side of the story. And there's like so much more dime here that a lot of people don't get to know about. And only that they just released a Blacktooth whiskey and they drank that during the show and they were like
Mm,
describing like the flavor profile and stuff like that. And
yeah.
like how Dime used to actually go about making his signature Blacktooth grin, where it was, crown with a dot of Coke and all that stuff. And they really tried, like, they worked with the distillery to make sure that like the flavor of these whiskeys were like perfect before they released it to the public. I still haven't bought any yet, but yeah, like it was mostly they kind of touch on that at the end, but it was also, a whole lot about Dime's history and then like kind of how she grew up and stuff like that. So it was really neat. And then obviously the day that everything happened with Dime. But yeah, dude, I hopefully some of this newer stuff is gonna have some excellent some memorable solos. I like to believe that some of the stuff that we've already put out does, but this will the 4 or 5 songs that we have going right now, I think are going to be definitely a different road for us, but it's still us. So,
Don't let me
um,
talk shit to you, dude. I was just fucking with you.
no,
You're
I
a good
know.
guitar player.
I would like to believe.
Yeah, no, you're a
Although
good.
the,
There's
the
nothing wrong with what you're doing on guitar. Don't worry about it. You're
the
good.
guy that guy I was mentioning that we were supposed to try out called us a common clowns. I was like, all right. And he sent a message to our band and said, the only thing common about you guys as crowns is baldness in the band. I'm like, oh, well, all right, man, fair enough. We got 3 bald dudes, a chick, and one guy with really good hair. Matt could grow hair, but me and Steve, yeah, we're done for. We ain't grown nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky, man. I got good hair genes. It's one of the few things I got going for me is I still have good hair. Yeah.
Yeah. I made fun of my dad for it, and now I see where that landed me. Oh, so you know what? I learned to shut the fuck up about his eyes because he has trifocals. I don't fuck with none of that. I don't want none to do with that shit, dude. Fuck that.
Y'all got any shows coming up?
Tommy Vexed, and then we're gonna be doing a it's like a live performance. It's gonna be like pre-recorded with our buddy Jazz, who filled in for us on drums a few times, but he also runs Rattleclack Studios. He goes like all over the world. He's literally going to Antarctica in like a week or two.
Hmm?
And Yeah, he goes all over the
Oh,
world
so he's
doing
CIA.
shit. Yeah, pretty much. No, actually, he does like entertainment stuff, and like it looks really cool. Like he puts pictures up of some of the venues that he does. I'm pretty fucking jealous. But yeah, we're gonna be doing like a live performance thing that's pre-recorded with him next Tuesday, and then yeah, just the show with Tommy Vext, and I think we're kind of putting our we're feeling out there for some other shows that seem worthwhile and like we want to do. But I think we're gonna lay low, and I'm really pushing to get us back into the studio because I think the one song, The Fringes, that we have right now is pretty much ready to go. And I think that's gonna be the one that we're gonna push the most. But the other ones that we have are good too. We have I think I told you about it before, but one that's like Alice in Chains, Godsmack, one that's like a Chevelle song, one that's I call our Viking tune, one that's like a little bit more new metally, and yeah, I think we got like one more after that. But yeah, we've been fucking busy and it's all uphill from here, man.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
fucking stoked. I think
Well,
this
yeah,
show goes
I mean, the
too.
chick y'all got singing for you, she's got a really good range. You sent me
Yeah.
that, you sent me a video. It's like an old video of her singing like bluegrass or
Mm,
country of some sort.
yeah.
Like she had a really good voice. Like she's got a really beautiful voice. So
Yeah.
she's very talented, you know.
Yeah, man. I like I said, I consider myself beyond blessed all the time to fucking play with these people just because they're so fucking awesome. And you know, the connections that they have to everybody else too in the local scene, just fucking awesome, man. So hopefully we'll get on some bigger shows next year. I think we will. And we've kind of put our name out in a way and have connections with people at different venues now that I think pretty much if we're like, hey, we want on that show, it generally works out in our favor. So
Havoc's touring.
oh, we're
They're,
probably no, you know what? I think we could play well with them. They're a little bit faster and they're going to be a different audience, but I think we could be
no, I was just saying maybe you can hook up with David whenever he comes in town.
Oh, dude, I
He's
would
not
love to.
he's not coming near me.
You know, I think he is coming near here.
And when they're in Texas, I'm gonna be in Namibia when they're in Texas,
Ah,
but they're going to Dallas and Austin, so they're not
mm,
going to Houston.
mm,
So, which Houston is 2 hours, 2.5 hours to the Woodlands, but
mm.
Dallas is like 5 hours, and Austin is like 6 hours. So
Whew,
yeah,
whew.
so
Yeah, yeah. People tell me all the time, "Oh yeah, this band's coming to Pennsylvania. They're going to Scranton and Philadelphia." I'm like, "Yeah, that's like 4 to 6 hours for me."
speaking of which, September passed, and freaking Adam Nutter never told me whenever he was going to be in Houston. The son of a
Oh,
bitch. He was
that
supposed to do some shows in
motherfucker.
Houston.
Oh,
And I was
that
supposed to
fucking
go meet up with
asshole.
him.
Yeah, you know what? I feel bad because 5 till midnight, we had Pete on this past week, and I
Oh, I feel
tried.
bad too now.
Well, I wanted to. Took me a second. But I really wanted to be on that show with Pete because Pete's my fucking guy. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, band practice had to be moved to Monday, and we had to get this practice in because we're doing that live show next week. So unfortunately, I couldn't be there. And yeah, we have our buddy Jose Nino on, who, if you don't know him, I think he lives down your way. He lives in Texas, and he's a
I've never met Jose, but I know
yeah,
of him through Pete. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
really good dude too. You know, real big into right wing stuff and like a gun lobbyist and shit like that. So he's my kind of guy. He's coming on next week. But yeah, I'm pretty bummed I didn't get to be on with Pete. You know, man, I messaged him when we were down in Savannah, Georgia, and I didn't know if like how where he lived at was like close enough that he could drive and you know we could hang out. But yeah, he was like 6 hours. So I'm like, ah man, all right, well,
Yeah.
you know, maybe one day.
Yeah. Isn't he
Uh,
up in the mountains now? I think he moved to the mountains last
he's
I talked
somewhere
to
in
him.
Alabama, so I don't know.
Yeah.
He's happy where he's at.
I think he's up in the mountains in Alabama. He's just like, oh, I got me a little spread. And last I
Yeah.
talked to him, he was doing well though. He had living in a nice little town. And his wife is so sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When I met up with Red Hawk, he was telling me about him hanging out with Pete, and he was like, "Yeah, him and his wife are really, really great people." So I've had some of our libertarian friends shitting on Pete. I'm like, "Listen, have you ever tried to just talk to Pete one on one about any of your issues?" And they're like, "Oh, no," or they would like address it publicly, and then you get shitty with him. Like, okay, well, when he is Pete back to you? You
Yeah,
can't
he's
be
gonna drop bombs on
surprised.
you if you come
Yeah.
at him like that. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
like
for
one on
sure.
one, he's genuinely the nicest, sweetest dude I've ever fucking talked to. But yeah, if you come at him like an asshole on Twitter, he's gonna fucking nuke you back. You can't be
Yeah.
surprised. That's fucking Pete.
Yeah, we've caught him a couple of times close to us and been able to sit down and have dinner with him a couple of times. I think actually last time Beatrix was out of the country. She was in
Mm.
South Africa, but he came through, so I was like, "Well, fuck it, I'll meet up with you. Come on, we'll do something." So we went and had sushi and yeah.
Oh hell yeah,
So
man.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys all went and got barbecue once. I'm like, man, these motherfuckers are taunting me with fucking barbecue.
Oh no, those pictures I think were from a South African restaurant.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's
I thought
a
they were-
in the Woodlands, there's a South African restaurant. We met them up there in the Woodlands
Oh,
and went to a South African restaurant that Beatrix had been wanting to try and ate like one of everything on the menu.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Spent a
Yeah,
shit ton of money and just enjoyed having, each other's company and,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they have like a family platter or something like that. We'll take that.
No, it was just we were just let me try this, let me try that, and it
Yeah.
was just one thing after another. That's how Beatrix and I go to restaurants. So it's just always like that when we go to restaurants.
Oh, dude, I totally get it.
Just a little bit of everything. I think when I was in South Africa, because prices of everything is so cheap in South
Yeah.
Africa, because the rand is like I think it's like 13 or 15 rand for a dollar.
Oh wow.
And yeah. And so we went to a five-star restaurant right before I left because we still had like a ton of money left for my trip. And I was like, fuck it, let's just go do something before I jump on the plane.
Yeah.
So we went to a five-star restaurant and we had like every one of their starters, like every appetizer on the menu. And
Oh.
then each had like two entrees.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude. I love
Yeah.
that.
So it was just, like, let's just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the way that I was on the cruise because the food's all inclusive. I'm like, yeah, I'll take some of this, that, all this other stuff. And what I really dug about the cruise too is that they're getting a little bit more on board with like people's allergies. And like people I know like are sometimes bullshit around the allergies or just say it's like a preference, but for Sarah it is like a severe allergy, so she got to enjoy a lot of stuff that she wouldn't normally get to enjoy. And since the food's all inclusive, listen, dude, I'm going in.
I got it.
I'm
I
gonna
got
eat
an
till it
I
hurts.
got an EpiPen. You go ahead and eat them peanuts.
Yeah. Listen, I'm ready whenever you are. So do you fucking eat it? Yeah. So now, yeah, they'd also like gluten-free cakes, and then the restaurants are very accommodative of her allergy and all that shit. So now it was a good time. And we the biggest disaster of that when we were in Nassau, which Nassau's a shithole, um, they don't take Discover cards, and that's who I bank through. And I had to walk. It was like 2 miles, but like no 4 miles, like round trip or something like that. No, maybe not that long. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but it was a long fucking walk. Like I walked for like half hour, 40 minutes to go get
Mm.
run onto the ship, get cash out of the ATM, and then walk the whole way back to the restaurant because it was like this restaurant that was on like a patio in the ocean, like
Hmm.
on the beach. It's really really cool.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it was ridiculously expensive. I mean, we literally got chips and drinks, like it like this shrimp dip with chips. It was $70.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I had to run onto the ship and then run back off. And you have to go, they have to scan you and want you and all this shit. And you have to have your ID out and your ship card. And it was a fucking disaster. But the shrimp and chips were good. And then the old fashioned they had that they gave me was good. And then I went on the ship and had a whole fuck ton of White Claws.
You sat down and started a whatever podcast.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you what, there were definitely enough women on there who I could have probably argued with all night to do that. So yeah, man. Yeah, we always call that the White Claw Power
Yeah, that's what
Hour.
made me think of
Yeah.
it.
Man.
What do you make of this of Andrew being on there all the time?
I haven't watched since I watched a debate with him in person, but he pretty much like hosts that show now, is my understanding. And I'm Andrew agnostic, maybe neutral, if you will. My experience with him on my podcast was less than pleasant. I kind of checked out. No personal problems with him, but just not my deal. But he does pretty good at like the moralizing and stuff like that. And he is smart as fuck. He is able to fucking pin people down and get them to kind of think through their logic. And I think having someone like that on there for the whatever podcast, because most of their audience is like probably younger dudes who are a little bit more religious and looking for more of a traditional life. I think he really appeals to the audience. So he'll do 8, 9 hour live streams with
I don't know
whatever, and they
how he
just farm
does
super
that.
traps. Oh, just probably cocaine and cigarettes. I don't fucking know. I couldn't do it. Listen,
I,
after about 2 or 3 hours, I'm like, all right, dude, I need to like pee and drink and go to sleep.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta rock. I did the longest I've ever done was 2-bit podcast. I did a 6 hour one time with Jason. We did it was a friend or fed,
Yeah.
and we did like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, that's a long
So,
fucking time.
but Jason's cool about like if you got to get up and go pee, he'll just shut your camera off and he'll turn it back on
Mm.
when you come back. So it's like you can kind of get up and move around and do what you got to do. So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I host our my one show with a couple of my buddies from the Manosphere space. Red Hawk's a part of it too. It's called Post Zero. Me, Jack Napier, Chat of Arabia, Red Hawk. Uh,
I tried to listen to one of them. I tried to listen to your one that y'all did on the prodigal son,
mm.
and none of y'all knew the story of the prodigal son, which made the freaking podcast unbearable to me. Because it's
All
like
right, fair
you
enough.
got the story all wrong. Like it makes no sense what you're
Okay.
saying.
All right, yeah, fair enough. It was more about kind of like the way that people view it now and the social narrative around it. But no, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, no, we just mostly get on there and we'll shoot the shit. We usually have like a topic. Someone literally commented on my channel today and said, "Do you guys ever get to the topic?" I'm like, "Okay, well then you don't watch this show because generally we like to bullshit. We're a bunch of dudes. We're going to talk about our dicks. We're going to bust each other's balls. We're going to make some racist comments and we're all going to laugh about it. And then maybe like an hour in, maybe we'll talk about the topic for 10 minutes and then we'll continue to be dicks." Like that's the show.
No, that part didn't bother me. It was just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was you trying to explain the story of the prodigal son. And I was like,
Mm.
Kyle, you don't even know the fucking story, dude.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, the original biblical story. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I was like, I don't see how anything you're saying has anything to do with the prodigal son.
Mm. Yeah, fair enough. Well, like I said, it was generally about like the social narrative around it, which is generally just like when somebody returns or like has a great change of belief, it confirms everybody else's opinion about or like thoughts around a narrative. Kind of like with Andrew Tate coming around from being the online web trafficker to being this traditionally minded guy with a daughter and all this stuff, where, basically it confirms everybody's belief about traditional. And once again, I'm not here saying that these things are good or bad. I'm just saying this is what confirms people's belief.
Right, right,
It's the
right,
social convention surrounding it, not necessarily like the biblical context of the prodigal son.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what where I see it play out the
Mhm.
most is in like conservative spaces, right?
Mhm.
When you get a liberal that realizes the left has gone completely insane
Yeah. The
and
left left me.
yeah, and then the conservatives go, "Oh, we got a new person." And so they
Mhm.
start platforming that person. And then all these people start shitting on that person. And it's like, give the person time for redemption. You
Mhm.
got to give time for redemption. That's like the whole point of the story is the redemption, right?
Mhm.
It's like what happened with the prodigal son is he took off. He took his inheritance, took off. He spent his entire inheritance. And when he
Mhm.
came back, his father welcomed him in the king's robe, right? He like welcomed him back with loving arms. He was excited.
Mhm.
He had his brother throw a party for him, but his brother had been there the whole time. It was like, why are you throwing a party for this guy? Like I've been here the whole time. You see? And so there's another story that Jesus tells, and he talks about the farmer with the field, and he hires all these guys, and at the end of the day he had hired people throughout the day, and at the end of the day when the day comes through, the people that started an hour before the day ended get paid the exact same as the people that were there from the beginning,
Mhm.
right? And so the whole thing's about redemption.
Mhm. Hmm.
and a lot of people don't have the ability to offer the humility and allow for redemption, and that's what it's about. It's about allowing for the redemption of the of that
Mhm.
person to come
Yeah.
back into good graces.
So I'm glad you laid that out, right? My question is, and this isn't a knock on anybody, and well, this is a knock on people who kind of have a very, very sudden change of opinion, right? Like, let's take that Nala fitness girl, right? Who is an OnlyFans girl saying ridiculous shit on the whatever podcast. And I'm not here to judge her past or anything like that. I don't give a shit. What she's going to do is what she's going to do. I can't control that. Um, in the social media age, when we have situations where people like this who have displayed, very, very, who literally had an OnlyFans account, was a porn star for years on end, and then all of a sudden converts, and then all these people platform her and make her out to be this great, Christian woman now. Shouldn't we kind of wait to see a demonstrated, like what I've been told is faith is in works, right? Or yeah, right. I think that's correct. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, shouldn't there be a demonstrated history and time of like a body of work before we say like this is an example of somebody that converted and that we should follow? Like basically my question is like you're giving people all the social credit without them actually doing anything other than just saying, "Hey, I converted." And then, like there's a journey here. Like when I see Russell Brand and a mutual friend of ours, and I won't say who it is, on air at least, had texted me when my tweet was blown up. I mean, I went viral over making fun of Russell Brand because he's kind of been on this redemption arc too. And then he even said, "Oh, it's a little too early to be baptizing people," but here I am. To me, when I see shit like this, it almost seems like a mockery, right? Where you have Russell Brand, who was this, I don't know where he was previously, but then all of a sudden he becomes Catholic or whatever religion he is. And then now he's baptizing people like a month or two later. Like, doesn't that
Mhm.
seem a little premature? And like when you're doing your tidy whities in a river and then you're admitting that you're doing it too soon, it doesn't look good to me. And once again, I'm not the best person to judge this, but that's just how it looks to me.
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is it's not my place to try to interpret intention.
Sure.
That's like the most difficult thing you could ever do.
Sure.
It's hard enough to know your own intention. A lot of times you'll be doing something and you're like, why am I doing this for the right reason? You have those moments. Everybody has those
Of
moments.
course.
You stop yourself and you start questioning your own motive, right?
Right.
So I try not to question motive. What the way I look at it is you give them the rope and they decide whether or not to hang themselves.
Mm.
But if you look at like the biblical stories, like take David for instance, right? The King David, right?
Mhm.
I mean, his he had a woman's his top general killed in battle so that he could have an affair with his wife, right? Well, that doesn't seem like a great guy,
Mhm.
but he's held up as the as an example of how we should live our lives. And why? Because he repented, right? He repented with full whole heart. It was even said that after committing murders and all these atrocities and adultery, that he lived a blameless life, and it was blameless because he repented. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that repentance. Like
Mhm.
I'm not the one to tell you if these people are honest, but I guarantee you if you listen to what they're saying, you're going to pull some nuggets out of it.
Sure.
Not everything's going to be a lie. You're going to be able to
Mhm.
pull some nuggets out of it. And none of these people are going to be perfect,
Mhm.
right? So even after the story of Noah on the ark, right? There's I think it's like the very next story in the Bible when Noah gets drunk and his son takes advantage of him while he's drunk and passed out. You know, like nobody, none of them like that was part of the biblical story is people want to point and say, well, look at the flaw of David or look at the flaw of Moses, look at the flaws of Abraham, look at the flaw of Noah. And it's like, well, that's because that's as close as us as people can get. That's as close as we're going to get. Is we're still going to be flawed. We're still going to
Mm,
be doing stupid shit, but we can find repentance. We can find redemption within our lives. And that's what the stories are about. And if you read all of them from that perspective, you'll see it happen throughout the story. Like as the story like unveils, you'll see the redemption and the repentance take place, you know? And so I try not to like I don't listen to a lot of these people you're talking about. I don't listen to
sure.
anything Russell Brand does. I find him to be a funny guy. And like when he was on Tucker Carlson, I caught bits and pieces of it and I thought he was funny. I thought he was entertaining, but I don't take my spiritual advice from people that aren't wearing um the gear of a priest or a bishop, right?
Mm,
If I want spiritual advice, I'm going to find somebody who's spiritually more enlightened than I am, not
sure.
someone who just found themselves being baptized 2 months ago, right? So
Yeah.
so I'll take what I can from his story, let's say, about the struggles let's say he went through struggles to get rid of the drugs and the women and that lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's hear that story. What is it that he was able to leverage that I might be able to utilize, but I'm not going to like take any serious spiritual advice from those people.
Mm,
So if you find them like trying to be spiritual leaders, then like yeah, it's like okay, dude, like you're
yeah.
overstepping your bounds. You kind of
Well, that's kind of where I thought if you're baptizing somebody, and once again, you would be able to correct this or correct me here, but wouldn't you have to be some kind of church authority to baptize someone?
well, you're supposed to, but well, not necessarily. There are
Okay.
situations where like there are situations, at least from the Orthodox perspective, where you could have somebody who's not even a Christian baptize somebody. But
Mm,
I mean, it's such rare. I mean, you're talking about rare,
sure. Well, like
like
my under
on the verge of death,
mm,
like it's like something dramatic is happening. The person's dying and they want to be
mm,
baptized before they die because they have come to the faith, but they had never gone through the tradition of baptism. And
sure.
but and let's say I had a layman, let's say I'm like got in a car wreck and I'm dying on the side of the road and I hadn't been baptized. And I tell somebody, I need you to baptize me. Here's what I need you to do to baptize me to make sure that I'm accepted, by God into the kingdom. I mean, that's a very distinct thing that you're doing. And if you survive that, then you would immediately go to a priest and have a
Mm.
traditional baptism take place.
Okay, so
You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's
okay,
kind
so
of like this kind
you
of
you
weird
wouldn't
black and white area, like gray area.
I'm gonna sound like a dick here, but you wouldn't go in your tidy whities with another person and take pictures and put it all over social media saying that it's a little too early to baptize someone. That's how it's sounding to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but and like the most that I
What
know
I
what
thought he was saying there, maybe I'm like misunderstood, and I'd have to go
sure.
back and check out the clip. From what I understood, he was trying to say was, I'm not in any position to baptize anybody.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
like I don't have the experience or like haven't been Christian long enough or whatever. That's the way I kind of understood what he was trying to say.
Sure.
But he's so dramatic. It's kind of like he says it in his way. But
Yeah.
that was what I understood. But again, I'm going to give the people the rope because I'm going to let them hang themselves up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the one that pulls the knot tight, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe in this situation, maybe I'm pulling the knot tight prematurely. Like when I
Well,
look at
a lot of times you go into these situations and you have kind of like these preconceived notions about who you're dealing with too,
Mm.
right? And but you have to understand that like the finding your way to a religion is a completely like life-changing experience. And so there are a lot of things about you that change. So it's not rare to find somebody who's completely turned their life 180 degrees.
Hmm. Right.
So, but there are those that will take advantage of that situation too and grift on it, right?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what irks me is that when I see that, I look at people like you, Rachel, Buck, um, and the Mastrinis and people like them who in my opinion, in my perspective, take your religion very seriously. And like even I remember Rachel and I had to reschedule a few times because of her baptism, and she openly speaks about that. And she'd been Orthodox for a couple of years, so it's like, okay, well, this is like a demonstrated body of work over the course of years that you guys took very seriously, and then decided to do this. And it wasn't like it was a big social media thing where like, oh, look how much clout and clicks I can get off of saying that I'm now being baptized and all this stuff. And like Buck put up some pictures, but it wasn't like a constant thing where he's saying, "Oh, look, I'm doing these prayers publicly and I'm doing all this stuff." Like it looks performative where when I see the people that I know and love, the way that they treat their religion, and I understand this is still going to be subjective to some degree no matter what, but it seems like it's performative when I look at the way that he's doing it, when he's doing it on stage and all these public places. And then you guys are a little bit more private and I don't want to say more or less serious because maybe this is very serious for him, but like it looks performative when he does it. It doesn't seem performative because I don't ever see you guys doing, basically prayers for clout. You know what I mean?
Well, and some of it is also um you have to understand that in the West,
Mm,
the different denominations that have kind of taken hold in the West, and the people that have probably the people that he's kind of probably found himself attracted to probably aren't Orthodox. The
sure.
Orthodoxy is a bit different,
Yeah, of
and
course.
yeah, there's this kind of understanding that you never arrive. Whereas like with Protestantism, um, there are branches of Protestantism. I'm not going to say it's every one of them because
Mm,
I haven't been involved in every one of them and don't know every one of them.
of
But there
course.
are branches of Protestantism that preach that you have arrived. And
Mm.
when you feel like you've arrived somewhere, that you feel like you've reached the top of the mountain, you want to shout it to everybody. It's kind of like becoming a libertarian.
Yeah, no, no, and I kind of knew where you were going as soon as you kind of said as soon as you arrived because um what happens after every single time
I
you
didn't
hit
even know where I was going. I'm glad you saw that coming. You should have just cut me off and be like, I see this. Because I
but
just kind of like let it flow out and I was like, yeah, libertarian. That's like what it is.
well, it's not necessarily just about libertarianism, but basically like to that point though, whenever you hit something, like whenever I hit my first 500-pound deadlift, I remember saying right before then, I'm gonna get to 500, I'm gonna be done. But when you get there, you're never satisfied, right? I feel like when if you're being told by your authority that that's all you have to do, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're a Protestant and you're told that you have arrived at salvation, if that's what I think you're getting at, then why would you continue to like? I'm sure you'd still maintain some of the behaviors, but like it almost seems like, okay, well, now I can just kind of punch in and punch out. Like I don't have to continue to do well. Whereas, like, when my understanding of the Orthodox worldview is that basically it's, when you die, you're going to feel the warm presence of God. And that's if the overwhelming majority of your life is colored with good acts and less sin, or at least you try to, more right your life than rather live in sin. Um,
Well,
whereas, yeah.
I can explain that a little bit easier, I
Okay, yeah, go
think.
ahead.
Um, it's because of the way we see faith,
Okay.
right? So in the more Protestant mindset, faith is um kind of like an internal belief, right? Whereas in an Orthodox mindset, faith means faithfulness. So I'm being
Mm,
faithful to God by the way I live my life, not something I think or feel.
mm.
So so that kind of gives you that separation in the way that
Yes.
both people, because orthodoxy is very, like, I'm not, if I say it this way, it's going to sound weird, but I have to fix me. I don't
Mhm.
have time to fix you.
No,
You
that
see what
doesn't
I'm,
sound weird at all. That doesn't sound weird at all.
well,
To me,
it almost sounds selfish because I'm focused on myself, but I'm focused on myself because I know I'm broken.
no, I don't think it, like, I think that's, and I'm not saying you're conditioned to this, but I think generally people are conditioned to think of that as selfishness. But like, really, at least I think for men, you really need to focus on you because, maybe you could say you're broken, or that like the only way you can be of assistance to other people, if that's what you want and that's what you feel compelled to do, is if you help yourself first. Like,
Yeah,
that's what
you
I
have
know I
to.
have to do.
Yeah, like spiritually, I have to continuously build my spiritual life
Mhm.
before I can offer any kind of spiritual insight to anybody
Yes.
else. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's why, like, when you talk to Orthodox about like the spirituality, and they'll talk about theosis, they'll talk about all these different things. There are levels like of getting there. Like, and
It
we
sounds more
have,
holistic.
right. It's like we have goals, we have like places we're striving to get,
Mhm.
internally, like spiritually, because like, what good am I to you if I'm like, still wallowing in shit, but I'm telling you how to like fix your life? Like, what do I know about fixing your life? I haven't even fixed my
Yeah.
life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Would you take me seriously if I said, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to grow hair"? Right? Or, if I wasn't working out, would you take me
You
seriously?
need
Yeah.
to go back with the more full beard though.
Oh, it's coming. Yeah, I'm growing it
Okay.
out slowly but
Okay.
surely.
Because with the way it's trimmed, when you
Mhm.
turn your head certain ways, you look like Ed Norton.
I don't, Ed Norton. Okay.
Because you
Yeah, I
got the
usually,
small eyes and you got the thin shaved like mustache. It's like, there's that Ed Norton look coming back.
oh, Jesus Christ, I see it. Man. Well, at least he's not a bad looking guy.
No,
I'll
he's
give him
not a
that.
bad looking guy, but
No. Okay.
I
Fine.
like the fuller beard.
Yeah, no, it'll make a comeback. I had my head shaved and the beard shaved, and everybody called me Mr. Clean, and even Sarah was like, "Yeah, you gotta grow that shit back."
Well, I was just curious why you didn't shave your eyebrows.
Yeah, that
You
was another
shaved
question.
everything else. You might as well
I
just shave your eyebrows.
I did that when I was in seventh grade, and it was very strange, and I'll probably never
You
do it
look like
again.
Uncle Fester walking around.
That one stings a little bit. Fucking Christ, man.
All right. You want to plug?
Yeah, man. This was fantastic, dude. I enjoyed this conversation. I kind of
I
figured.
needed it, dude. I've been so stressed out. I was like, am I going to talk politics with him? I'm like, no, we're not going there.
Oh,
I don't
dude,
feel like.
I was prepared for it, but I'm glad we didn't because I'm so good with not talking politics too. I'm gonna be talking politics tomorrow. I'm gonna have Robbie Martin, Abby Martin's brother, on the podcast tomorrow. So for
That
whenever this
guy.
airs, yeah, he's
That
pretty
guy.
nice. Yeah, I like him, but yeah, he's kind of nuts, but in a good way. Sometimes maybe some people might think in a bad way. But anyways, and Liberty and Health podcast. I did 3 podcasts last week while I was on vacation. Just while I had them pre-recorded and released. Post Zero, if you want to listen to more Manosphere stuff or just guys kind of shooting the shit. And 5 till midnight on Mondays, where we just kind of sit there and talk shit. And I just hit 4,000 followers on Twitter, and obviously the band is A Common Crown, and we'll hopefully have new music out. I'm
A
pushing for
comment.
before the end of the year.
If you're Asian, it's a common clown.
Or if you're a certain person who didn't get the gig and is still salty about it, fucking 6 months later. Fucking Christ.
Bitch. All right, man. I'm going to stop the recording.
Yep.
Come on, mouse, work for me.